Hi everyone, if you want to know how to make those delicious and irresistible scones, then stay put because that is what we're doing today. They're sweet, but they're not overly sweet, and I've been having them for a few days now for breakfast, but they're great as an after lunch treat as well. Now, warning, it is an incredibly messy job, but don't worry, it'll be so worth it in the end, and I will take you through all the steps.
So the first step is to line your tray with some baking paper and use some of this 1 cal spray that I talked about in my previous video and just spray it evenly on the baking paper so that your scones won't stick in the oven when you go to cook them later. If you have a weighing scales, that would really help you, and not just in this recipe, in general, because I actually only got these recently and I realized that I was living like a caveman before them because it is so time consuming to try and figure out all the measurements using American cups and so on and so forth. So if you have the weighing scales, it would really help you in this. So turn these on, and the first thing that you need to do is get 450 grams of self-raising flour. Okay, you get a little messy. You want to get your sugar, some castor sugar, about 50 grams of this. So I'm just going to use a tablespoon for that. I'm going to give this all a mix together before you put in your baking powder. Now I got these baking powder sachets from Lidl. They're beside the little packets of yeast in the baking section. It's equivalent to 2 tablespoons, just in case you don't have these little sachets, but it's also 15 grams. So I'm just going to put the whole sachet into here. And this will give a lovely rise to our scones and make them nice and fluffy. So give that all a mix. Now, this is the fun part where you get to get your hands dirty and really get in there and get familiar with your scones. So what I'm doing here is I am getting 100 grams of butter into my flour mixture, into my dry ingredients. So I'm just using light dairy manor butter. You can use dairy-free butter, you can use full-fat butter, it really doesn't matter. Basically what you want to do is you want to get a tablespoon. You just want to plop it into the flour, even just get the flours and sprinkle it on top because you don't want the butters touching. And make sure you get 100 grams of that. Okay, so this is the fun part. This is where you get to get real messy. This is where the fun starts. So we have our butter in here, and what you want to do is basically pick it up and just squish it and just run it through your fingers. And our goal here is to get the texture of breadcrumbs. So as you can see, this is starting to break down already. The main thing that you want is to make sure you have no clumps of butter because they will melt in the oven. So another way that you can do this is just get a handful and just rub your hands together, and that friction will cause it to become the texture of breadcrumbs as well. Now this will take about 5 minutes to achieve, but don't worry, you'll get there. Oh look, see all these clumps of butter as well. Make sure you get everything. So the next thing you want to do is you want to get a measuring jug and you want to crack 2 eggs into this first. So always crack your eggs off a flat surface because if you do it off the edge, you can get shell in there. And you'd rather not get shell in there than go fish it out. So just 2 eggs. Give them a rough whisk. And then you want to add the amount of milk it'll take you to get to 300 milliliters. So that's how much wet ingredients we need. So I'm just gonna add this until I get to 300 milliliters. on the money. So, and then just keep giving this a whisk until it's all fully incorporated. So you want to keep mixing it, trying to incorporate it. It is going to be a sticky dough. That's where all the fun is. Oh, I've got a bit of egg yolk in there. Don't mind that, it'll mix in. So now you can see this is one soft, super sticky dough. So what you need to do now is you need to flour your surface, right? Be generous, flour your surface, and you want to turn this out onto your surface, because this is where the even messier part comes in. So I just have a bag here of frozen berries. It's the summer fruit mix. Now you can use just blueberries, just blackberries. You can even just use fresh berries. But I find that when I use the fresh berries, the scones actually go off quicker, and also they're more expensive. So I'm just trying to scrape off every little bit in here. Okay, so I've turned out all of my dough onto my floured surface. I'm just gonna flour it on top as well, just so that when I touch it, it doesn't stick to my hands. Now we're going to use these frozen berries. Now one thing about using frozen berries is that they are going to melt from the warmth of your hand because they are covered in ice. But the good thing about them is that when they cook in the oven, the residual water in the berries will steam your scones and make them even softer and fluffier. So just pour as many as you like onto your scones and just turn it in. So you just want to fold the berries. If they pop out, it's okay. You just want to fold the berries into your dough so you can incorporate them. Now, trust me, this is going to get messy, but it's going to be super worth it. So because also we're getting extra water from those berries, it's okay to sprinkle a little bit of extra flour onto the dough just so it soaks up all of that water that we're getting from the thawing berries. You can see it's starting to stain the dough, but I personally like that. I think it looks cool. Once it's getting a bit sticky, flour it up a little bit. So what I've done is I've just flattened out my dough. It doesn't have to be any particular shape, but the main thing is that it's even, so then your scones will cook evenly. I've just got a glass. I don't have a cookie cutter, but a round glass will do. I've just cut out 2 scones and put them on my already prepared baking sheet. So just gonna punch it out, be delicate with it, shake it out. It's a sticky dough, remember, so be patient with it. Reshape it a little bit and just pop it onto your baking tray. And keep doing this until you have used up all your dough. So I actually ended up making 10, which I'm not complaining about. But obviously, if you want to make just 6 large ones, go for that. I'm using this 1 cal spray again, just to spray the top of them so they can get a nice golden color on top. And what I'm also doing is I'm just using some sugar and a teaspoon and sprinkling some sugar on top, and it actually creates such a nice crust and almost sweet bite that is just so irresistible. So make sure to do this step as well. We can all allow ourselves to have a little sweet treat once in a while, especially on a Sunday morning, so don't be afraid of a little bit of extra sugar.
So while they're cooking in the oven, I just wanted to touch on how many calories are in a scone and how much they cost me to make. So for those who are counting, they are 290 calories a scone, which is completely reasonable for a morning breakfast. And I did try to use healthy substitutes where I could, like using light milk and light butter and using the 1-calorie spray as well. So if you can do that, that would be a great way to cut calories. Obviously, the best way to cook calories is to not eat them at all and go eat some egg whites instead, but who wants to do that? So they actually cost me about 30 cents a scone to make, which is crazy considering you can easily go into a cafe and pay $3.50 for a stale scone. But that's the good thing about cooking at home, is that you know exactly what goes into your food, you know when it was made, you get to eat it freshly baked, and you know how many calories is in it. But it's also something you can do on the weekend as an activity, whether it's with your friends, your family, your partner, or on your own.
So there you go, everyone. After 15 minutes in the oven at 225 degrees, this is what we get. A delicious breakfast. Serve it with some jam, some butter, a cup of coffee is essential, and I hope you enjoy. Just to show you guys how spongy and fluffy and moist it is inside.
Thank you for watching the video. When you recreate the recipe, make sure to tag my Instagram account, TheRussianTwist, and if you're not already following it, go check out the extra goodies that I post on there as well. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to see all my upcoming videos, and if you have any comments or things that you would like to see in the future, make sure you put them in the comments below or send me a direct message on Instagram. See you all soon and have a great day.